If you've been dealing with a stiff and tight lower back, or stiff and tight hips, or a combination of both, there's a really good chance that the root cause of that issue is a tight psoas muscle. Maybe you're even aware of that. I know for myself personally, when my lower back started getting stiff and tight, I knew for sure the culprit was a tight psoas muscle because I was doing a heavy set of barbell Romanian deadlifts, 315 pounds for 10 to 12 repetitions. I got to the 10th or 11th rep, and I felt a pop down here. And it wasn't painful, it was a little discomfort, but it's just, I knew something had happened. I was still able to do another repetition before racking the weight up. But later that day, I experienced a stiff and tight lower back. And I knew it wasn't something that I did to my lower back per se, even though like a barbell Romanian deadlift can get those erectors involved there. I knew because I felt that pop in the front here, had a good strong feeling that it was the psoas muscle. I went to my massage therapist and he was digging his hands into this area. So the psoas muscle ties into the iliacus, which is attached to the pelvic bone here, right around the hip area and down low. So right around here, next to the belly button area, and it attaches into the spine. So if it's tight here, there's a good chance it's pulling in on your spine. It's going to cause a lot of that lower back discomfort. And because it's in this area, it can cause a lot of issues with your hip mobility and hip flexibility as well. So I was going to frequent massage therapy sessions and he was really digging in there, and it did provide some relief, but in between, it would stiffen right back up again. So I started using my massage gun in between sessions there, which was okay, but even that, it just didn't feel right to use the massage gun in that area. And the massage therapy sessions were starting to add up. So I started using a lacrosse ball, which is a little bit difficult to get into that area, like lying down on it. So a softball seemed a little bit better as a potential solution there. And then I started getting ads that were popping up on Facebook for the Althetha Mark, which seemed to be doing exactly what my massage therapist was doing, which is applying pressure onto the trigger point, onto the psoas muscle there, and then pulling down on that handle gets it to dig in underneath the pelvic bone there, which is exactly what my massage therapist was doing. So I thought, all right, although this little gadget is pretty pricey there, I was looking at, it's basically 2.5, maybe 3, about 2.5 massage therapy sessions that I was going to. So I'm like, all right, if this can even provide me more frequent relief throughout the day, throughout the week there, this is going to be well worth the value. So I ended up ordering it and giving it a test drive itself. And again, I watched some videos there, some review videos as I was waiting for it to be delivered. The creator of this product was saying like, as soon as she got it into position, she's like, oh, it feels so good. I'm like, it didn't feel good to me at first. When you've got a tight psoas muscle there and you start applying pressure to it, like even when my massage therapist is applying pressure to it, like it's not comfortable. So I really had to learn to relax into this. So what you do with this is you're gonna find the psoas muscle again, you got your hip bone and it runs along the pelvis. So I'm gonna place the top of my hand around the top of my hip there. And then anywhere in this area is going to be good for applying pressure. And you're just going to be kind of exploring around. You put it in place, and if you feel immediately like the trigger point, you know it's an area of discomfort that could be really tight, you're going to sink into that. So lying on the ground, I find a spot in that area, and then I'll just relax my body down onto the ground. I like to turn my head in the opposite direction and place that arm into a T. You can I prefer personally to have my legs out long, maybe spread out a little bit. Some people like to bring like the side that you're working, bring that knee up towards your elbow there because it may lift your body up off the floor a little bit more because it is uncomfortable at first when you're applying that pressure. And you really want to make sure that once you find that spot, and you're lying down onto the ground, that you relax. You don't want to be tense. And that's automatically that protective kind of mechanism there where you're feeling that discomfort, you're tensing up, you're fighting it. And what you got to do is really focus on your breath. So taking nice, deep, slow breaths. And with each exhale, allow your body to sink even lower into the mark here, into that trigger point. And ideally, you want to give yourself about 90 seconds where you're just focused on that area, just focused on the breath and relaxing deeper and deeper into it. If you feel like, for myself personally, right away, especially when I started using this, I could feel fluttering. Like I knew it hit a trigger point, and you can feel the fluttering where it was releasing. Not only in that area, I was starting to feel fluttering in my glutes, in my hips, even kind of the outer aspect of my quadriceps, sometimes hamstrings there, low back for sure. Different fluttering depending on where I was placing this mark on the psoas muscle there. So I knew there was some releasing going on. So you let it, you sit there for at least 90 seconds, and then you can pull down on the handle, and that's going to dig into deeper into the hip bone and not only get the psoas involved there, but the iliacus muscle as well. So relieving two different muscles that are interconnected there that could potentially be causing a lot of the hip and low back pain that you're experiencing there. So you're going to pull it down and hold it down. And again, you may experience, like, even if you weren't feeling anything quite the first time with just the pressure there, when you pull down on that handle and it's digging in, going towards the hips, it may very well, like, you're like, holy smokes, that it is this right spot. When I pull down on that handle, it's going to dig in there deep and release the tension on that psoas muscle there. So do that, pull down on the handle for another 90 seconds, and then switch spots. Just do a little self-exploratory somewhere else in that psoas area. It could be closer to the hip bone. It could be up a little higher, closer to the belly button area. It could be down a little bit lower. Just playing around with different spots. And if you don't feel a release right away, if you don't feel the trigger point, it just may not be might not be ready to release that day. So you just try a different spot, move over to a different spot. I ideally like to move around to at least like around 3, maybe sometimes 4 different spots on the psoas per day. The other thing to mention when it comes to this is I prefer to do this first thing in the morning, empty stomach. It's great because I wake up, you might be a little bit stiff, a little bit tight, and it gets you going, like it loosens you up to start the day. But really, I don't like to have any kind of food in my digestive system, in my stomach, when I'm applying this kind of pressure in there. So either like first thing in the morning or just before I'm going to have a meal, maybe late at night before I'm going to go to bed, might be another opportunity where all my food's already been digested and my stomach's feeling pretty empty. So it's a little bit easier to apply the pressure. This is not going, the pressure isn't on your stomach there, but intestines and all that kind of stuff going on there. So I prefer not to have much going on in there when I'm applying that pressure there. But again, the keys that I really want to emphasize with this is that you have to relax. You have to, as uncomfortable as it is applying that pressure at first, you got to just allow yourself to sink into it. And every once in a while, I'll catch myself as I'm moving position, I'm like, ooh, my legs are a little tense. So even though I'm allowing kind of my upper body to relax down into it, my legs might be tense, my glutes might be a little tense. So I just really make sure, all right, I catch it, I observe that, I relax those muscles, I focus on my breath, and really allow myself to sink into that. The other thing I really want to mention is that although you may have that problem area, that problem side, like I know for sure it was my right side that experienced that popping sensation, and it was tight and it needed to be released, there's always some compensation going on. And I was really surprised at how tight my left side is, even though that side wasn't the one that experienced that injury with the barbell Romanian deadlift. So I highly recommend, even if you're experiencing the discomfort just on the one side, work both sides. So at least find 3 points on each side, each psoas muscle that's going on there. I'm telling you, like, this has been an absolute game changer for me. It isn't cheap, but it is, in my opinion, so worth it. Not only if you're dealing with some low back pain and stiffness, tightness, hip stiffness and tightness, it's a great preventative tool as well. So once I started like the low back tightness and stiffness relieved, and I was noticing that my hips were even more open and more flexible in the hip flexors and a lot of the mobility that I had there, I'm like, keep this going. A lot of times we just do things reactively whenever we experience an injury or anything like that, but using a tool like this proactively is going to pay huge dividends. So why not avoid low back stiffness and tightness? Why not avoid the hip stiffness and tightness and really be proactive and use this on a daily basis? I can't recommend this tool enough. Like I said, It's a little discomfort, but again, if you're going to go to a massage therapist, they're going to be digging in there. It's not going to be the most comfortable as well, and it's going to be pretty expensive to be doing that on a consistent basis. And if you're only going once a month, what the heck, you got all those days in between that you could be really working on it with a tool like this. It's precise with the trigger points that you're going to be releasing there, and it can really dig deep. Having that handle to pull down on makes just such a world of a difference. So again, the iliacus was a muscle that I just didn't have access to. It's trying to get it to with the massage gun, but it just didn't work out. The lacrosse ball and the softball could get the psoas, but not the iliacus muscle deep underneath the bone there. So a tool like this it's really a one of a kind. Like I see some other ones that are just have, you just lay on it and it's going to have the trigger points, the pressure points here, but it doesn't have the handle to pull down to get deep into that iliacus muscle there. So highly recommend it. Again, like I said, it's not cheap, but you can use, I have a coupon code, LoseFatGetJack10. It'll save yourself 10% when you do invest in the Mark here. And they've got, I've got their whole line of products as well. Lacrosse ball, they got the Orbit ball. I've got the bands to strengthen the hips. I've got their book that comes. I just bought the whole bundle there because, I mean, why not? Why not do as many things as I can to be proactive with my overall back health, hip health, just overall mobility, overall functional performance. They're just making sure I'm going to be as able-bodied as I possibly can be for as long as I possibly can be. And I love being proactive rather than reactive. So this is a tool I continue to use each and every day and will continue to do so and try to prevent any kind of future issues that may pop up there.